So as I mentioned earlier, we're going to pick up from where we left off last week on lies, labels, and limiting beliefs. As I just mentioned, some of the things that we have here at the beginning of the presentation are things that we talked about last week. And I just wanted to make sure we had it in the presentation, wanted to give you a chance to see it again. As we really get to the point this time around, I want people, all of you, to think about, so what are you going to do about this? Are you recognizing how you may be experiencing or seeing or having some awareness of lies, labels, and limiting beliefs that might be operational or at play in your own life? Do you realize that you're being held hostage? Do you realize that you are stuck in places? And then at the end, I really want to talk about, how do you want to move forward? What then is the next step? You know, someone said to me in a text when I sent out the notice about this part two, and two people have said this to me. Oh, I'm going to try and come. I'm going to help. I hope to make it there. And I want people to understand that I'm really, my goal as a coach, and both in coaching and in ministry, is about helping women. And even in my coaching is still a part of ministry, because we want to make sure that we are doing all that God has called us to do. And we know that there are so many things, life happens, things may be challenging, but I want us, by the time we end this call tonight, to realize that there are paths that we can take to help us work through those limitations, negative thinking, those distorted thoughts that might be coming to mind. And if you have any questions as I come through, as I go through these slides, they're only about 10 or 12, so it may not take too terribly long. So either feel free to put in the chat or raise your hand, and I'm happy to stop a minute and answer the question. So as we stated last week, so what are limiting beliefs? You know, the idea of limiting beliefs, and even me presenting it to you tonight, is not anything new. You can go online and search, limiting beliefs. You can even go online and search, what does the Bible say about limiting beliefs? So this whole notion of limiting beliefs and what they are and defining them is not new. What we want to do today, as I said before, is what are you going to do about it? What are the next steps? If you find yourself being held hostage, what now are you going to do moving forward? It's one thing to have the knowledge about it, and even hopefully get some awareness, is what we're going to talk about for each of you individually. How can I help you get some awareness and clarity about what's really going on, and then how to move forward? So limited beliefs are those negative thoughts that hold us back from achieving our goals. And sometimes we think of the word goals and we think about something professional. And while it could be professional, it could be so many other things as well. It could be just mental, emotional movement, growth, stability. It could be, starting a business. It could be just so many different things. Fulfilling purpose. Your goal could be understanding what your purpose actually is. So we first have to understand what are limiting beliefs and how they impact our lives. So limiting beliefs are lies we have embraced that hold us back from walking in the fullness of life that God desires for us. And we know the Bible tells us we are fearfully and wonderfully made. We're made with purpose and with intention. And to have impact. And so first be clear on that there is purpose, there is intention. You are to have impact in whatever your situation might be. And just want to make sure that you move forward with that you don't doubt yourself. The importance of understanding awareness about limiting beliefs and lies, as we said, it can hold you back from achieving your full potential. And, even as I go through these and I think about understanding or achieving full potential, I think some people read those words and they, I know it's just sort of a cliche. Sorry, just responded to a text, someone who's not able to make it. It's just sort of a cliche, full potential. And you may not really understand what that means. or be able to establish right now, what does full potential mean for me today? Because it may mean something for you, and no doubt it will mean something for you later on. Um, those limiting beliefs or lies are sometimes automatic accepted thoughts. It could be a result from something that you've heard as a child, childhood experience, something that someone said to you at work that you may or may not even have a real awareness of. Um, we're in a society now that has many negative, judgmental, comparative type things going on, and we tend to hear that. It goes in our ear gate and our eye gate, and it can become a part of us if we are not careful. Trying to move my slide. So those things that we hear, those things that we read, those things that we say to ourselves, and we touched on these scriptures again last week just a little bit. The words that you say have power, and you can really speak and determine your path based on what you say and based on your mindset. Mindset is everything. And what are you going to believe about yourself? What are you going to believe about your situation? What are you going to declare and talk about yourself and your situation? Let's say the word of God is not for play. It's powerful. It's alive. And it will change things, and it will change situations. As long as we speak with faith, by faith, and believe that God is able to do just what he said. We can't do any of this without relying on the word of God and speaking what the word says. So we have to recognize the negative labels and the limiting beliefs that you have about yourself. And I would ask now that as we're going through the rest of this presentation, hopefully maybe even from the last time, have you thought about some of your thinking or negative self-talk, or what you might be saying to yourself? Have you identified those places and spaces that you feel a little stuck and you're not quite sure how to, what might even have you stuck, what has you stuck, and what the root of that might actually be. So back to the words, shape your beliefs, your self-image, and your actions. Here are a few of those scriptures we talked about last time. Death and life are in the power of the tongue. As a man thinking in his heart, so is he. Guard your heart with all diligence. This is our eye gate, ear gate. What comes in? What do you hear? Who are you around? Who are you allowing to pour into you? And knowing that Satan is a liar and the father of lies, and it will be Satan's desire that you don't do any of those things that God has called you to, designed you for, and you're not able to get those things accomplished. So thoughts have power and impact our behavior when we believe them. We may not even be aware that they have sort of become the norm in our lives and our thinking. We also touched on this a little bit last time, that so when situations arise and things happen, we do have an immediate automatic thought. So what is that automatic thought? Something happens at work, someone says something, it makes you feel something. It makes you think something. Where is it that your mind is going to go? Where is your thought going to go? Is it going to be something negative? Is it going to be something positive? Are you going to beat yourself up? And all of those automatic thoughts usually will fall in one of these categories. Either you're going to be assuming the worst in any situation. I thank you, Sister Paula. I see your comment. You have the shoulds, musts, and oughts. And I don't know if any of you have had therapy or looked at any meditation practices. Anytime we say to ourselves, I should, I must, or I ought to, that it automatically becomes a demand within us. Consciously or unconsciously, we may not even be aware that that's what's happening, but it becomes a demand for ourselves. And we have to talk about, how do you reshape these automatic thoughts? How do you arrest them and stop them and reshape them or reword them in a way that is, one, kind and gentle to yourself, and in a way that is more positive and allows you to be more productive. There's a fairy tale fantasy This, I think, comes a lot with the comparison that we see on TV and society. You got to demand the ideal life. We hear it all the time. You can do everything. We can do it all, particularly as women, and we have all of this. And if any of you saw the Michelle Obama and Oprah Winfrey interview, and they were saying, yeah, you can have it all, but really, come on, you can't have it all at the same time. Or else you find yourselves in these really challenging situations. And we do talk about that a little bit in our edit program, in this newer version around this Wonder Woman mentality. And can we really be this Wonder Woman, the person who can do it all, without expecting there to be some repercussions for that? There is the all or nothing. It's like you got to have it exactly the right way, you got to have it perfect, or you don't want it at all. Overgeneralizing, that means if you have a negative experience, you're applying that across every area of your life. When you may have just had one experience, it doesn't mean that it applies to everything. There is the labeling, as we've been talking about, that as opposed to applying something to you or one situation, you tend to label yourself that way in every situation. Dwelling on the negative or rejecting the positive, they sort of go together. When something negative happens, you stop enjoying things altogether. You can't move forward. And then rejecting the positive, you're so stuck on the negative that you're not able to celebrate the positive thing whenever those things happen. There's personalizing, taking things personal when it really isn't about you, but somehow your mind says, that's that thing. You hear a conversation, or are they talking about me? Or even if they were talking about you, you blow it up into such a much larger issue than it really actually was. Catastrophizing, something is so bad, if this happens, you're not going to be able to stand it, it's going to be so horrible. And then the unfavorable comparison, which we again go back to society. We see all these things on social media, on TV, it allows us or makes us sometimes to magnify our faults and then shrink the strengths and the mistakes of ourselves or even of others. So these are those automatic thoughts. Something else to think about is, when things should happen, are you immediately going to one of these places? And even now moving forward, you can think about situations, or if something's coming up, if you're finding yourself feeling agitated or something is going on or not quite setting right, make sure you're going back and say, wait, is this me? Am I in one of these negative automatic thoughts or these distorted thoughts? And is there a way I can turn these things around and readjust them or reword them so that it's much more positive? So what's the impact of lies, labels, and limiting belief? Sabotages your progress, and it'll keep you stuck, paralyzes you from moving forward. It will make you doubt God. And whether that's conscious or unconscious, I want to bring things or give you the opportunity to bring things forward, to bring your thinking forward. I think sometimes we, and people in general, I don't want to say even church people, but people in general, we may think something, but we just let it go and let it slide. Sometimes we're so ready to let things go. Some of the things we're just letting go, we might need to hold on to and deal with, because before you know it, time goes by. And this is something I was saying to someone just the other day. One reason that I do what I do now is, at my age, I think back 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, man, if only I had done this then. I knew God was calling me to do this and to do different things. If only I had done it then. If only I had stopped long enough to find that mentor, because there wasn't anyone there at the time that I felt like could show me the way or lead me into the path that I felt like God was calling. So one reason I do this now is that I want to talk to women my age, younger, older, really doesn't matter the age, to say, don't stop pursuing. It could be those situations where you can't do it all. It's true, you can't do it all at one time. Like may have a growing family, grandkids, life happens. You may have to take a break. I think Sister Peggy said that last night. You may have to take a break, but whatever it is that you need to do, it doesn't mean that you can't keep moving forward. And before you know it, you'll get to that stage that, well, did I hear God right? Did God really say this to me? Did God really speak this to me? And it can make you doubt God, what you're hearing, and how you're hearing from God. So it also brings doubt and causes you to question your identity and the power within your core being. We talked about that last time, about having value and worth, that your worth and our value has nothing to do with those external situations. As a child, children of God, that is the core of who we are. We are God's children. We have the presence of God within us, the Holy Spirit residing within us. And that is our starting point. That is our core. Everything else is built around that. And all of those other things can come and go and come and go. And you can dictate based on your words, what you say, how you think, how you're praying, how you're declaring, and what you're saying about yourself and saying about these situations. So understanding in the core of who you are, who God created you to be, and what He's called you to do. So then how do we go through this process of breaking free? And so we realize we may have these limiting beliefs going on at root, that have taken root in our minds and our thinking. We may realize there are some lies, labels that have attached themselves to you, and you want to figure out how to move forward. So how do you break free from those things? Well, first, as we've been saying, is identifying them and challenging the validity of them. When you come to or may recognize you have those distorted thoughts, or those automated thoughts that might be popping up from time to time. And I have to do this for myself. And there's so many different situations where you may be questioning yourself, or may not have the confidence, or something may come up and make you question your confidence. And you have to break free by identifying, recognizing when it happens, and then challenge that validity. Is it really true? Is that really what really happened? Is that really what that person said? Or are you really going to be, we used to say growing up, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words, how'd it go? But words will never hurt me. Yeah. However that goes. You got to be mindful of what you're thinking. Who or what are you allowing to impact your thinking? I think that is really important. Who are you surrounding yourselves with? Are they allowing you to be authentic and the best you? Do they even know how to allow you to be the best you? Because let me tell you, someone who's not trying to be the best them, they may not be able to help you be the best you. There's so much more I can say about that, but I'll just leave that there for now. Are they lifting you up? Are they believing as you believe in Christ, standing on Scripture, declaring the Word? Are they filling you up with the things that you need to move forward? And can you be honest enough with yourself to realize that you might have someone in your life who just may not be the best person for you? Because it doesn't take much. It doesn't take much, depending on how you're thinking, and depending on where you are, how solid you are in knowing who you are. It doesn't take much for, especially someone who knows you well, or who you may be close to. I don't know how well they know you, but you may be close to maybe put that just seed of doubt, or that seed of negativity in your thinking. So something for you to really think about: is this really the right person? Is this happening for me? And then what am I going to do about it? But it is all of our desires to break free and live the life that God intended for us. As we said, He has created us with intent and with purpose and for impact. And understanding if I could get that in people's minds, that God created us all. We won't have the same impact. We're not called or created to impact the same people. And there is enough impact for all of us that we don't have to be jealous. We don't have to compare ourselves. We don't have to feel bad if we're not doing what someone else is doing, but just to do what it is that God has called us to do. In ways we talked about this a little bit last time is using positive affirmations, standing on biblical truths, arresting those distorted thoughts and those automatic thoughts and start to rewrite them. I got to say that I have a full 2 hour plus training on limiting beliefs. Um, and we do this a little bit in edit, and that is going through the practice and exercise of what really has come to your mind. What is it? What are those limiting beliefs and lies that you may have exposed? Let's write those out. Let's expose them, identify them. And then how do we reshape them? How do we rewrite them? How do we redefine them? And it's one thing to redefine a statement, but then how do you reshape that in your own thinking? How do you, and that's what edit is about, how do you then impart new knowledge of who you are? So whatever that lie and label, limiting belief you've identified is one thing. How do we expose it, dispel it, and then what I call impart new knowledge so that you are moving past and breaking free of those labels. The advantages, though, of getting rid of these limiting beliefs: increased confidence, self-esteem, self-motivation, removing that stress and anxiety caused by feeling worthless or not fulfilling, just typo right there, and not fulfilling your purpose. But sometimes I think you get that anxiety. I know I do. Am I doing all I'm supposed to do? Am I doing enough? Am I doing what God has called me to? Am I having the level of impact that God has called me to do? I know the gifts and talents that He's given, and it's my heart's desire to give that back to Him for His glory, for His service. Better focus on priority, overcoming the worry of not being good enough, and removing the mental, emotional roadblocks that allows us to have more clarity, creativity, and the ability to connect with God at a deeper level. And there's so many more advantages. This is just a start. So as I said before, so why do I do this? For those who know me, I have it in our book, the Bursting Forth the Power Within. It is my desire as a coach and as a ministry, particularly a ministry for women, that there are no more lost dreams, abandoned callings, or unfulfilled purposes. What it is that God is calling you to do, in whatever it is, however He's asking you, showing you to get better, do better, whatever impact it is that you're supposed to have, is to encourage you to move forward in that impact, with that impact. He's making a way. He will make a way. He was saying to Javasia today, he showed me a vision today that just further solidified for me that He is able to clear the path for us to pursue and reach these goals that He has designed us for. The enemy will love for you to take these unfulfilled purposes to the grave and not reach and do and have the impact that God has designed and created us to do. If anyone ever asks you why I do what I do, this here is my reasoning. So then what will your next step be? If you're in the situation where you are recognizing the lies and labels at work in your life, I encourage you to either join Edit, and we'll be doing it soon. I haven't set a date, or a one-on-one coaching session. I'm happy to do that. I always tell you all the first session I do free of charge anyways. If you're not aware or unsure of your purpose or path in life, again, Edit will help you find and uncover some of those things. Highly recommend life visioning. If you've not spent time doing that, I can certainly help you with that through coaching or give you some templates or things to work through. If you know what you should be doing, but you need motivation, this is when I say visioning, vision boarding, coaching. But again, it's one thing to do a vision board, but then you got to make a plan after that vision board. How am I going to reach these goals? Even after you put things out on a vision. We even talked a little bit about journaling last time as well. If you need healing from past trauma, consider seeing a therapist. And if you need to know how to move forward, past experiences that have labeled you, you need to break free from. Again, coaching and Edit, I think, are really good options. And that is it for, there's so much more that I could say, I could present, and talk about, but I want to take a minute now. I'm going to go back to the comments here. So someone says, I've identified my negative self-talk and working on replacing them, as you stated in the previous session. Someone else says, comparing yourself with others. So my question to you now, and I know whether you're on screen, off screen, certainly I want to just give a minute for discussion. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts, and how can I help you? What do you think you need at this moment in terms of lies, labels, and limiting beliefs?
I just have a question. How would you, I guess, go about if you had to go to if therapy was your maybe your need, um, along with coaching? I mean, usually one of the first questions you're asked is, "What can I help you with?" or "What are you here for?" Like, what is the response? Like, I attended this limiting beliefs session and realized there's some things um, that really stuck out to me. Like, how do you address what your need is to someone in order to help you?
To a therapist or to a coach?
Either.
Well, for a coach and probably a therapist as well, they'll keep questioning you. So you're right. The very first question we're going to ask is, so JC, how can I help you today? What brought you here? And the next time that we have together, what is it that you would like to accomplish? So that gets you to that place of, like you said, I recognize that I think this might be at play in my life, in my thinking. And then I'm going to ask you a few more questions. Tell me about how you think that this might be at play in your thinking. And as a coach, we will continue down that path and, try and uncover and see where you are. And I will, even in one session, will say, well, even before we get too far, I want to understand what your concern is and what you think you have going on. I'm also going to ask you, what would you like to accomplish in the next time that we have together, whether we're together for 30 minutes or for 1 hour? So then you're going to tell me, by the end of this session, I would like to be clear on what was the root of the limiting belief. What can I do about it? Or if we get that far and we fully understand it. Um, just so it just depends on how the conversation goes and what someone is looking for.
Mm. And does the if it's kind of general where you say, I just feel stuck or I don't know, how is that teased apart? Where I just don't think I'm in my work, walking in my purpose, or I kind of feel stuck where I am, or I don't know how to put any adjectives to what is going on, how to describe where I am. I just don't feel I'm in my best place. Like, then what those sessions look like?
Yeah. Are you talking about yourself, or are you asking for a friend?
Asking for a friend.
No. Well, because I was going to take you down that path if you wanted to go for. I said I would do a sample coaching session with someone. So I think it really depends. So if you say to me, your response to me is, I'm just stuck and I don't know, I don't really know. Well, I'm going to ask you, tell me about the stuckness. Talk to me. What does stuck mean to you? And
Mm-hmm.
what's happening in your life to make you feel stuck? And then it just depends on what comes out of that conversation. It will eventually tease apart
Mm-hmm.
what's really going on.
Okay.
Anyone else? Another question. How can I help you? Where are you here?
So wait, one more question.
Okay.
Um, what if there's been a start on that journey? So I did therapy, or I'd done coaching with you, or I've done therapy with someone else, and I've discontinued that, and I'm trying to, come back. Um, is it just like meeting all over again, or do we talk about some of the things we used to talk about currently, or how does that work?
Yeah, it all depends on where you are currently. If we need to go back and talk about previous things, that's possible. But I'm still going to choose and ask the same question: how can I help you today? And if whatever you say to me is still, you may say, well, I feel like, I know we talked about this in the past, but I feel like I found myself back there. Or maybe in the past we talked about this and I tried X and whatever. Um, but I'm not quite sure what's going on now. Why wasn't I able to do this, or you know, whatever it might be. Um, so coaching is really our training is listening and asking questions in a way that will help you come to the conclusions and the answers that you need to have. We don't tell you. We're not advisors. We're not in a coaching role. We're not mentors. Um, we um, we we are there to help you unfold, uncover, have control over your own thinking and your own path. So you can't come back to me and say, "Well, you told me." Now I'll say, and sometimes I will say, folk will come to me and say, and I will say, okay, are you asking me as a coach, or are you asking me as a minister? Are you asking me as a coach, or are you asking me as a mentor? Um, they're different hats, and I want people to be clear which one I'm operating in at any given time. I'm not a therapist, but I could be a coach, counselor, mentor at any given time. Any other questions?
My question is, I heard what you said earlier about having the right people surrounding you,
Mm-hmm.
or making sure that you have the right folk within your sphere. Um, but how do you determine, or how do you seek to find the right mentor or coach for the direction that you're trying to go, or the direction that you think you need to be going in? How do you go through that process?
Yeah. So so a couple of things. There are all types of coaches, right? Coaches have different specialties, and they they may work some more with women or with men. So I think that's the first thing is you can identify someone, say someone who wants to work on their finances and or building the finances for their business. There are finance coaches.
Mm-hmm.
Someone who wants to work on their health and well-being. There are health and well-being coaches. Someone who wants to, whatever. There's so many types. People um, determine whatever their niche or their specialty might be. That's one. So identifying whether you want a Christian coach or someone who is basing your conversation and questioning and will bring Jesus into the conversation and faith into the conversation. You don't have to, but it just depends on what type of. It's just like finding how do you find your doctor? How do you find
Mm-hmm.
your a therapist that might be a good fit for you? And it's the same thing with the coach. How do you find someone that's a good fit for you? So one is, what is their niche? What is their specialty? The other is just how well you all get along. That's why most coaches will offer that first 30-minute or 1 hour session free of charge. And just as you would with any doctor or any therapist, just to see how well you all fit and sort of mesh together. I'll also say too that and I've heard many coaches say this, um, I would almost put the other one, how well you mesh together, before I put the niche,
Mm-hmm.
because coaching, all coaches are trained to listen.
Mm-hmm.
Hold that thought a second.
Yes.
You want a coach who has received some training and they're not self-taught. You want someone
Thank you.
who
Okay.
has a certification, who has did training and has some credentialing. They have gotten some degree, because right now you can't tell coaches a coaching field is not it's not like therapist or whatever. It's not regulated. So people can decide, oh, this is what I want to do, and I'm going to be a coach, and I'm going to start a business. And they may be really good at, getting up, starting a business, especially if they've got a large following on social media, or, a travel coach or whatever. They may not have had any type of training. They don't know how to ask questions. They may not have any of that. So look for someone who is certified, ideally credentialed through some large recognized organization. So that's my number one. You can't say number one. That's my number one. My number
Okay.
two is someone who you build a relationship with, because as coaches we are trained to listen and trained to ask the right questions. And even though I am a Christian impact and empowerment coach, someone who may, there are some people who call themselves clarity coaches. Well, I can still deal with your clarity in my impact and empowerment, because once I listen to you and hear what you're saying, what your desires are, where you're trying to get, I can still pose those same questions and get you there. So don't get so stuck on the niche. I mean, there is a difference in health and well-being and finance or something like that. So, but yeah, just find the one that you ideally certified, credential, you get along with, and makes sense that this person should be walking alongside you, not telling you what to do, giving you time and space to think through what you are wanting in life. And they should have that skill of questioning and listening to things that you're not even quite sure that you're saying.
It makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Sure thing.
Can I ask a
Um,
question off of her? I'm sorry, just one more.
Go ahead.
What Ms. Karen said, is it, uh, sometimes I have, I don't know if I'm being maybe biased or have some prejudice towards it, but like, say I'm um, looking for a coach, and someone says they are a relationship coach, um, but you start to like read their background or try to find out some things about them in the conversation, and they've never been married, or they're single, or um, are are those, like, I don't know if they're red flags, or like, am I doing myself a disservice by saying like, well, I don't want a coach who hasn't been married, or um, or who's never been married, or I don't want a coach um, who doesn't necessarily believe in or have some kind of faith or following someone of a higher power. Am I doing myself a disservice by discrediting them, or am I is my thought correct? I guess in my thinking and what I'm seeking.
Yeah, again, I think you do your own due diligence. Like I said, I think there's not any, I think, I know there are people out there who have decided to call themselves coaches because it's not regulated. I will say, I think the coaching industry is getting to the point now. I know even I'm credentialed through an international, it's called ICF, International Coaching Federation. And we do think the government is soon going to come down and crack down on it, which is why it would behoove all coaches to get some certification and credentialing, or else they might start to get fined. But I think to your question, there are folk out there who have not had any formal training. So I think you will uh, you need to do your own due diligence. Do they have the training and certification? Um, and it's up to you. If you want someone who is married to coach you on relationships or through relationships, then that's what you should look for. That should be a requirement. Um, yeah, I'm just going to leave it at that. I don't want to give my personal opinion, but that's the same. Say at church, if you were going through marriage counseling, or if you were going whatever, it depends on what is that conversation going to be like. What are you expecting this person to tell you? How do you expect these people to guide you, or be it clergy, or be it coaching, or be it therapist, or whatever. Don't second guess yourself, and don't feel like you have to settle for someone that doesn't meet the criteria that you want them to have. Any other questions, thoughts, comments? The rest of you all, I've not heard anything from. Everyone else good? We were talking about lies, labels, and limiting beliefs. Not even so much about coaching and how to find a coach. But so on either topic, I'm happy. We got just a few minutes left.
Oh, I do have one more question. You said that you had not decided on the date, but it was going to be starting again.
Yeah. So here's my thing with Edit this time around. I'm going to send out a call for people who are interested in Edit. Because I want to know a couple of things this time going around. One, how many people are interested in taking Edit again or for the first time. And now I have two versions of Edit. One version is a more general, what I call mainstream version. It may be better for younger folk or folk who may not know scripture as well as some others. And then there's the original version that has a heavy scriptural context. They're fairly similar, but the examples are more mainstream examples. So I will be sending out an email soon, probably within the next 2 weeks. I meet with someone tomorrow about revamping one of those in the next 2 weeks, and I'm going to just sort of get a feel for who would like to do Edit again. And what the best time. I know also here during the summer months, people are traveling in June, July, so it probably won't start until maybe the end of July-ish or so. Just so people aren't, having to miss so many sessions. But how about anyone else on the call interested in Edit? I know last week Miss Peggy said she was waiting for Edit again. Sister Karen, some of you have done it before, some of you have not. Can I answer? Okay, Sister Paula says count her in. Okay, all right, Sister Karen, that sounds good. I will. All right, y'all. Sounds good. Everyone's coming through. So, and I will say there is a cost for Edit. I haven't decided yet with this new second version what the cost is actually going to be. Because remember, it is an 8-week program. We meet every week, and sometimes I'll be meeting with you separately. For those who've taken it before, I'm now pairing people up to pair with one another as opposed to having that one editor person. So I have changed it just a little bit so that we're able to accommodate more people, really. And then that way, hopefully I'm able to meet with you to make sure you're getting through the process and getting all of just getting the most out of Edit that you can get. And I hope soon to put Edit online. So for those of you who have, I'm getting really close. I think with this new version, that people are able to go through it on their own with a few associated videos, sort of in a self-paced type way. So we want to be able to expand it so people have more access and it's not limited just by me being able to teach it.
Oh, that sounds wonderful.
Yeah. And remember, for any of you, if you want to do Edit as a group, you got a group of friends, group of ladies, church group, certainly give me a call and see how how we can make that work. All right. Well, thank you all. It is 8 o'clock. If there's not anything else that I can, Sonia, you good? Any questions? You okay?
Well, if you could real quick explain what the edit is. I don't know if I bypassed it because I'm not on here every weekend, but if you could just a quick review of what it is.
Yeah, so EDIT stands for Expose, Dispel, Impart, and Thrive. I thought I had a version right here somewhere. I do. Hold on a second. It's Expose, Dispel, Impart, and Thrive. And it is an 8-week program. If you can, I can't see it with the book. Hold on. And it each week, I said it's an 8-week program. Let me see if I can, how do I take this off? I can't take it off right now. It's an 8-week program, and we spend 2 weeks each time on each word. So expose, we start by talking about who you are as a woman, how we're created as women in God's image. On the Christian version, I start with what is the first lie. I do it in both versions, but in the Christian version, which is the original version, we go back to Genesis, Eve, the first place of deception, how that has shaped our thinking over time. Then we go from, we start talking about then who you are, exposing these lies, labels, limited beliefs, what's happening. There's quite a bit of writing. This is more like a little workbook journal that you're really working your way through an 8-week process. Then we go from expose to dispel. So once you've exposed lies, labels, limiting beliefs that we've been talking about here, we go through that process of dispelling, because we say exposing is not enough. You got to now do something with it. We go in that casting down thoughts and imaginations, every high thing that exalted itself against the knowledge of Christ. That's the original version. In the more mainstream version, we talk about the Wonder Woman complex as sort of the first lie as the basis. Instead of talking about women in the Bible, we talk about more mainstream women who have told their stories. Maya Angelou, Gabrielle Union, Chrissy Teigen, all those folk who had struggles in their lives. That just to make sure that everyone can sort of relate. So then we go through dispelling those lies, labels. How do we cast them down? How do we switch them out? We talk about our values, how to write your values, because that's going to help you define where those labels and stuff are coming from, and getting ready to replace the lies and labels with new knowledge. That's impart. So we then do 2 weeks on impart. And we're going through the book together, but you really need to be reading it on your own before you get to the session. So we're imparting new knowledge. In the Christian one, the original one, we're going straight scripture. What does the word say? Who are we? Lots of affirmations, doing everything we can to fill that hole that we have exposed and dispelled, and now speaking new life, new identity, new vision to who you are. I still have affirmations in the other version as well. And then the last section is thrive. What does thriving look like? What is that personal vision? How do you move forward? How do you handle it when some of those things start to come back to your mind again? Because you can continuously take yourself through this thought process of editing, as I call it. Some folk on the phone have done edit 2 and 3 times, or even more, because it's a process. You can only sometimes deal with one thing. If you know that you have a lie or a label that was imparted on you as a child of you're lazy, and you realize now at whatever our age is, you find yourself not doing things. You have to ask yourself, why am I not doing this? Or why aren't I more motivated? Or why don't I press forward? And we get back to, my grandma told me that I was lazy when I was 7 years old. And at 7, we start to take on what it is that people have said to us and have labeled us as over time. And that takes some breaking. That takes some exposing and dispelling and replacing, and then how do we move forward? So if you're spending all your time right now dealing with this lie of laziness that has attached itself to you, for 40 or 50 years, that's about all you're going to be able to deal with in that first round of edit. And then people come back because you start to peel back those onions. Miss Bernice has got her version. I just saw it. That's the original version of
Yes, it sure is.
of edit. And so yeah, as you work through it, you'll be doing your own writing. And I tell people, it's your book. You can burn it if you want to. Nobody's going to see it but you. But what is most important is that you, what is most important is that you are doing your own work, that you're taking your time, sitting still, and working through it for yourself. Because the goal is for you to thrive in that area, and be able to see that change and that transformation in you by the time you finish that 8-week period. All right. It's great if I'm a little biased, but if I don't say so myself. All right.
But I enjoyed it. It was worth it.
Great. Yeah, you got.
I enjoyed tonight, and I look forward to getting the notes.
Okay. Yeah, I will do that. I'm happy to send the slides out. I will put this on the YouTube channel. If you've not gone to YouTube, certainly you can look me up. It's under my name, or it's actually under smervinb@gmail. And all the previous recordings are there from the previous Let's Talk About It. And I'll have the dates for the next session in the next couple of days.
Sabrena, can you give us that YouTube name again? You said it's under?
It's under here. It's my regular email, smervinb. So SMERVINB as in boy at Gmail. Yeah. Anything else? Well, thank you all so much. I appreciate your time. I did get a few texts from folk who couldn't make it tonight, so hopefully they'll join us next time. But do look for, in the next couple of weeks, my interest email about edit, because it is time for me. It's time to go in and get that one going again. But I want to make sure that I can do it in as many formats as I possibly can. All right. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much for your time.
Have a great evening, everybody.
Thank you. Have a good night, everyone.